This is an organized flea market. That's what I like to call it. Everything is for sale in this house for the right price. My mom likes to go back to her childhood in the 50s. Onset to diabetes, you think? So I'm her favorite child, so. But I don't know the fork thing here with the spoons, but that's cool.
So you can make it all flow really cohesively even when you're trying to set up?
Oh yeah, I'll cut this part out. What's up, everybody? I am Levi, your host with the VERITAS 21 podcast, just here to surprise my mom. We're going to be talking about the episode that we're going to be recording this week about boundaries. There's a book about boundaries that we're going to be talking about, and we're going to be making an outline for it. I figured I would bring her a drink here and say what's up. So you guys, welcome to my mother's house. This is an organized flea market. That's what I like to call it. So, hey, there's my stepdad right there.
What are you
Check
doing?
it out.
What are you doing?
You know, just figured I'd come over and give you a drink, mother.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Drink away. So anyways, like I said, the organized flea market. This is the family. Of course, I'm her favorite child, so she put me in the biggest. She put me in the biggest picture. All of my nieces and nephews, and then my mom's always collected Sandy Gore Evans. Snowman. You know, she's got the TV as any American. You know, because we like to sit on the couch and get big and eat popcorn. So yeah, then she's got her little collection of crosses. She used to have this whole wall red that was just full of crosses, but she has taken some of them down. So anyways, that's her living room. I'll show you guys the kitchen, because the kitchen, my mom likes to go back to her childhood in the 50s. So here you go. This is the kitchen. I know a lot of you will be like, oh, that's so cute. You know, it's so cool. But again, like I said, the organized flea market. As you can tell, she has a ton of knickknacks here. Everything is for sale in this house for the right price. So just message me, yo. The email will be in the description along with all of the social media. So boom. Yeah, she also painted the cabinets. And then let's step back to the 60s, because my mom likes some... Johnny Cash, Elvis Presley, and Route 66, yo. So this is her Route 66 room. Well, it used to be a lot more Route 66. She only has one thing up. This is kind of surprising. It's not all matching.
No, I changed things.
Yeah, you did. I didn't even notice till I came back here. But yeah, she's got some Route 66 stuff up there, here. I don't even know what these things are called, but yeah, whatever. Cool. Yeah, my mom always keeps it very organized in this house, but I don't know the fork thing here with the spoons, but that's cool. Yeah, I did the trim work in here. Pretty cool. Some say I'm a man of many talents. By the way, I gotta tell you guys, my mom runs a little in-home business called So Mixed Up, and is it
Stitches of Remembrance?
It used to be So Mixed Up, okay? I am shaky, yo. I should have ate. I'm not nervous or anything, guys, I promise. But maybe I'm going through diabetes, onset to diabetes, you think?
Or you're having low glycemia.
Yeah, something. But anyways, yeah, Stitches of Remembrance, and she makes these bears and stuff. So this is what she does every single night, because they keep her busy.
Yes, they do, see?
Slaving away.
In my Bible.
Oh, geez, I didn't even notice you had that many. All right, so we'll go back into her sewing room, show you guys kind of her setup. So you guys have seen, if you follow me on TikTok, you've seen the setup for the studio. This is essentially my mom's studio, okay? I'm telling you, an organized flea market. She's got everything. Oh, that's a great series, the Left Behind series. Yeah, so she's got plenty going on in here. And we are going to set up... You've had that Bible forever.
Yeah.
Now, I would show you guys the chickens outside, because... I tell you what, here's the thing. Anytime that you get some chickens, like, you're not supposed to name them because you will never eat them. We have not ate one chicken, and I think she's had 4 that died of natural causes because she named all of them. So yeah, she always has snacks. What is that? The butter toffee popcorn and peanuts?
Wow. So you can make it all flow really cohesively even when you're trying to set up.
Oh yeah, I'll cut this part out. Sounds like you don't open it up a whole lot.
Not as often as I should.
So, on the podcast, we are going to be talking about boundaries, like I said at the beginning of the video here. And it's all kind of based off of this book that I have not read that my mom has immensely studied over the last week. Would you say you studied it over the last week?
It's kind of worn because I've read this probably 30 years ago. So I've had the book about that long.
I haven't even looked at this book, and we're going to be talking about it. Sounds like I'm going to have to take it home. We're going to record the podcast tomorrow.
Well, yeah, let's not get too ahead of ourselves.
So, you've read it. What are your perspectives of things that we should start with on it?
Well, I think personally this should be more of a series because there's a lot to this. But it's just like the title says, boundaries is when to say yes, when to say no, and take control of your life. The reason why I read this book was because my life was kind of out of control. I was very much of a yes person. So I would say yes to anybody that asked me to do anything, and then there was no energy left for my family. There was no energy left for, the things that I need to do to take care of me. And in that came out a lot of anger and frustration. And honestly, Levi doesn't know my anger near as well as the older children know my anger. But I was a very angry person, so I was just at a point that I needed to change some things, and this is one of the books that the Lord said read, so I did.
Who introduced you to the book?
Nobody really. I just went through a period of time that I just went through Barnes and Noble and just walked the aisles and said, Lord, tell me what books to pick out. And so
that's interesting because that's the way Ego is the Enemy worked for me, the Ryan Holiday book, and how much that impacted me. Would you say like that brought out some things in life you maybe felt better about in life after you read the book?
Yeah. I mean, bottom line is this book and The Faces of Rage, which you have mentioned a couple of times, those two books were very pivotal. I can't even say that word.
Pivotal?
Pivotal in my life and changing my way of thinking. And I have to be honest with you, the only way you're ever going to change the way you think is to look at yourself. You really got to examine and be honest with yourself.
Yeah, and I think there's also like another aspect to that as well, that as you're examining yourself, you're also looking at other experiences or other people's perspectives on experiences that are similar to your own.
Yes, if you have those in your life, that you can draw from that. I just knew I was sick of me. Mm-hmm. I was sick of the way my decision making was. I was really sick in the way I reacted to people. I was sick of feeling resentful or bitter, angry, and always had a longing for acceptance and attention and wanted to be noticed. So I just said, God.
So like you were seeking attention, essentially?
Yes, I believe, when I look back, I didn't realize it. I mean, it took time and really looking and God saying, this is who you were. This is who you are. This is what you do, kind of thing. Because, it doesn't sound good to think that some of the things I was doing out of the desire for attention. Whether it's negative attention or positive attention, I just wanted somebody to say, hey, I see you.
Like give you a little bit of validation and
yes.
And just your presence, essentially.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Right.
But there's a balance for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know the balance. Like, for instance, people would say, oh, when you come in the room, you take on the room. Mm-hmm. And I would. My personality would just persona across the room because I announced that I'm in here. Not like I came in and go, okay, I'm here. I would just be loud and laughing and just doing things that draw attention to myself.
I want to tell you guys real quick, too, as you see, we're having this conversation. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this is a preparation for a podcast. This is generally what I'll do is if I'm having a conversation with somebody I've never met before, we'll have a phone conversation before the podcast. That way we can kind of develop what we're going to talk about, things that we agree on, things we disagree on, and kind of gives me some direction as a host of certain questions to ask to lead the conversation so that it's more impactful for you guys. So anybody that's out there looking for or looking into starting a podcast, I think that this is a crucial moment to kind of take from this vlog currently, that this is something you should apply in going into doing a podcast, is conversating with people that are going to be guests. Of course, Mom has been a guest on the podcast, I think 5 different times now, talking about specific things. But what's going to be awesome about this one is, like she said, we're going to do a series on boundaries. And as we walk through the series of boundaries, we're going to walk through many different elements of my personal life and what my mom has been through. So you see me sitting here jotting down notes. This is going to be formulated into another program called Google Drive, and I'll put it on a Google Doc, where my mom will also have the ability to go in and add to that Google Doc, and then we'll have a solid outline of things to talk about. That also doesn't mean that we don't have fluid conversation on the podcast, because we want to keep the conversation natural. But take it from experience as somebody who has not developed outlines on podcasts, and somebody who has ADD tremendously, a suffering moment for me, is running down rabbit trails constantly.
He does that.
Yep. And you guys that watch the podcast, you know that as well. So what do you think is the first key thing that we should talk about when pertaining to boundaries?
Well, firstly, I think we need to identify what boundaries is.
Okay.
I'm going to give you an example. This comes out of the book, but I thought it was really good because I do also will recognize the fact that I'm coming from a biblical view, and I was seeking God to help me in this. And I do believe that Christians in general have a hard time, more so maybe with boundaries than the secular world, because we are brought up in a culture of being kind to one another and serving one another and giving to one another. Okay, so in this book he comments about the Samaritan in the Bible,
the Good Samaritan,
and it talks about, as in the scripture, the person that was laying alongside the road that had been beaten and bruised and homeless and hurting and stuff, and there were several other people that had just walked by him, looked at him, and just kept walking. And yet the Good Samaritan came and lifted him up, carried him to a place where he could stay, paid for his room and board, made sure that he was going to be fed, told the innkeeper, here's some money, take care of his needs and stuff like that, and then went on his way. And the question is, why did not the Good Samaritan stay with that guy until he was on his feet, help him get on his feet, help him get on with his life, and do all those things? Mm-hmm. He basically took care of the immediate need he had. A place, roof over his head, food in his stomach, and medical care, basically. And so as a Christian, we think, how far do we give, or how far do we go before it's crossing a boundary? The synopsis
that's a good point.
in this book, and how he explains it is that the Good Samaritan still had a life.
Yeah.
The Good Samaritan still had responsibilities. Maybe he had a family. Maybe he needed to go to work to support his family. Maybe he needed money to pay his own rent and stuff like that. He did his deed. He was a Good Samaritan by helping that person get to point A. Now it's up to that person to get to point B.
Right.
And point C. He went on his way. So as a Christian, we need to know where our boundary is drawn. When do you stop doing everything overboard? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think, that's something that I've hit on too throughout the podcast, is like, how far do we go? How far do we extend ourselves to the point where we as Christians aren't exhausted in extending our helpful hand or in that love for them? And at what point do they take personal responsibility for, that issue that they may be experiencing in that season of life?
Well, like I said to you, I was a yes person. I need the validation that I was a good person and that I was helpful and I was serving but in all those yeses I was doing, I forgot my responsibility in my home. I forgot that I had children that required a lot from me. I forgot that I was running a business that required a lot of me. And I was draining myself by being that good person saying yes to everybody. Not that saying yes is a bad thing. You just got to know where your boundary is when you're saving enough energy to do the things you're responsible for. So that's what that book helped me do. And I think then that's why I said, the first thing is always defining what are boundaries. Where do you need to examine yourself as where are you overextending yourself in places you don't need to be extending yourself.
So there you guys have it. I know it's real short, quick, but we don't want to give it all away because we're going to be doing the episode tomorrow, and it's probably going to end up being around an hour long. So these topics that we just discussed right now is kind of a preview of what we're going to be talking about, and this will be far more developed into the conversation that we're going to have. And I'll have a lot of questions for Mom about this. I'm going to take that book home tonight, and I'm going to read probably a couple chapters in preparation. So I hope everybody that watched this, that you got a couple things. Now, here's another key aspect of ADHD. You don't realize when you miss out on something, okay? Because you're like so focused on what's the next thing, what's the next thing, what's the next thing. So you continually move on. When I walked in, I gave Mom the Quick Trip Pepsi that she always likes to drink. And I didn't even say, hey guys, what's up? This is my mom, Kim Maddern. So here's my introduction right now to my mother. But yeah, guys, tune in to the episode tomorrow. It'll be episode 51.
So, since we're going to be talking about boundaries, I'm going to give you an example of not good boundaries. He didn't invite himself over. Didn't prep me that he was coming over. He just kind of announced himself as he came in the door. Not good boundaries.
Yeah, I know. Your husband was not that happy about it, so.
No. But he's family, and I understand, so.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you letting me come over, bring the camera in, show around the house, and all of that good stuff.
Good thing the house is somewhat clean.
Well, you always keep it clean. You're not a bachelor like me keeping the house dirty. You know, I only clean it when I have a lady coming over that I'm trying to impress.
Right.
You know? I have to always give the disclosure. I always have to give the disclosure. It is not always like this, okay? So yeah, what are we going to name the series? We're just going to name it Boundaries?
Sure, why not?
Okay, Boundaries, and then with this one will be Defining Boundaries.
Defining boundaries.
Okay, so new series kicking off on the VERITAS 21 podcast. Do not forget that the name is about to change to the Pursuing Truth podcast. I almost missed it, but the Pursuing Truth podcast, and that starts October 1st. You guys will start getting more of this type of content in the development of making a podcast, and maybe help out those fellow podcasters that have a message out there to provide to the world. So you guys stay safe, God bless, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel, please, because I'm trying to build that subscription up to 1,000 subscribers by next December. That's a challenge. I got 25,000 followers on TikTok. I got 58 subscribers on the YouTube channel right now. Hopefully by making content like this, I'll get more. See you guys.